And welcome in, everybody, to the Last Row Podcast, a fan's perspective on sports. It's Brian here inside the ARM Media Solutions Studios on this Saturday night, May the 30th, 2026. Hope you are well, hope you are happy, hope you are healthy, and hope you have just enjoyed game number 7. Well, let's get through all the propers first, and then we'll get into a live reaction right here on the Last Row Podcast. First and foremost, if you are on social media, make sure you check us out on X or on Twitter at Last Row Podcast. You can check us out on X there. If you are on TikTok and or TikTok Live, make sure you check us out at last.row.podcast. Check us out on Apple Podcasts and or Spotify. Make sure you do so there. You can do so at Last Row Podcast. Make sure you look at our website, www.lastrowpodcast.com. That is where you can find links to all of our sponsors, including I Know a Guy Remodeling, as well as Forever Finds Thrift. All right, let's talk about game number 7. And I will just tell you right here and now, we talked about it last night on the show, if you were with us. And if you weren't, then make sure you check us out on Apple Podcasts and Spotify to catch the replays. But I will just tell you right here and now that this game tonight, we talked about it last night. Wembanyama had to be big. The Spurs had to do well defensively tonight. And if they did so, and if Wemby was Wemby, it was going to be very difficult for the Oklahoma City Thunder to do anything, especially when your number 2 in Chet Holmgren doesn't do much and doesn't put much up. And tonight, we saw that exact microcosm here. You had Wembanyama with 22 points, 7 rebounds, 2 assists. Castle and Vassell each had 16 and 11 respectively. You got a big game out of Champagny with 20 points. And that was the difference. And I'm going to tell you right here and now, Wembanyama wins the Western MVP. And I have to tell you, it's deserved. It's absolutely deserved. De'Aaron Fox had a very good night tonight. And look, you could tell he and Alex Caruso were going at it because they knew exactly what was on at stake. The fact that the Thunder got behind early. Let's call that what it is. The Thunder got behind way early tonight. And the fact that Wembanyama exposed how bad Chet Holmgren is. That's not a good, and Reagan, you put it brilliantly in the chat. That's not a good showing for Chet Holmgren. That exposed him. It also exposed how weak Oklahoma City is. And if you're the New York Knicks right now, you are absolutely thrilled by this. Because this game tonight gives you a puncher's chance. You have a bigger, more physical center in Karl Anthony Towns. You have a bigger, more physical 4 or backup center, really, in Robinson. You've got a bigger 4, and bigger, I mean bigger, muscular-wise, in Anunoby and or Josh Hart that can lean on Wembanyama, that can guard Wembanyama, especially when he is out on the perimeter. And I will just say this much. Wembanyama tonight was brilliant. 22 points, 7 of 15 from the field, 3 of 5 from threes, 7 rebounds, 2 assists. Castle struggled tonight. I'll be honest with you. I didn't like Castle's game at all. Mr. Mack, welcome in. Champ, welcome in. Twins, welcome in. Mason, welcome in. Matt J, welcome in. Anthony, Kevin, if you're joining us on TikTok Live tonight, good evening. Thank you so much for being a part of it. Make sure you follow us on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. Make sure you're sharing the live here tonight. Kevin, welcome in. Dylan Harper, even though he only had 12 points tonight. Wolf, good evening. D'Anthony, welcome in. MH, welcome in. I thought Dylan Harper played a really key role here tonight. And Bippin, good evening. KG, Wheelchair Gamer, good evening. To me, it seemed as if that role tonight for Dylan Harper suited him really, really well coming off the bench. In 27 minutes, he had 12 points, 5 of 8 from the field, 2 of 3, 7 rebounds. Exactly, Reagan, and we were gonna talk about that and how that ultimately I think made a huge difference in the game tonight. How Wembanyama let the game come to him. Cincy Reds, welcome in. Tickler, welcome in. Robert, welcome in. Consuelo, welcome in. Papa, welcome in. Cobb, welcome in. Jack, welcome in. Wemby tonight played like a veteran. Like this was not his first Game 7. Big Ray, good evening. Wemby played like this was a game that he could absolutely look at and go, okay, I'm going to let everybody else get going, and I'm going to allow the game to come to me. And, oh, Jack, don't start with that garbage. Come on now. This was a really good series. And if you want to, I'm going to tell you this right here and now. Wembanyama, when he elbowed Chet Holmgren or Hartenstein in the mouth, could have been a flagrant. You could argue it should have been a flagrant, but it wasn't. The refs let him play in Game 7. And that was evident, and I'm really glad you said that, Jack. That was evident during the Caruso and De'Aaron Fox issue. That was also evident when Castle got taken down and then shoved Caruso when he was on the ground, when Castle was on the ground. It was evident there, too, that they were letting him play. And again, this comes down to San Antonio being the better team. We said San Antonio was going to have to go into Oklahoma City and win. And that's exactly what they did tonight. And, I mean, look, let's just talk about this here, okay? Overall, 45% from the field, 43% from threes. They were 14 of 19 from the charity stripe, the free throw line, with 74%, okay? They had 12 turnovers. Rebounds, they had 40. Now, we haven't even talked about Oklahoma City yet, okay? Oklahoma City, other than SGA, they struggled tonight. Caruso had 12. Jalen Williams with 11. McCain with 12. I thought McCain played really well. But they were 45% from the field, 34% from three, 77% from the free throw line. They had 13 turnovers, 23 assists, 38 rebounds. So San Antonio dominated the rebounding, or I shouldn't say dominated. They won the rebounding, okay? Well, but look, I mean, when you're an MVP, you're going to get those calls. I mean, think about this, and you're probably too young for this, but think about it. The Jordan rules, right? You know, Magic Johnson eloquently said it during the Dream Team. You can't get too close to Michael, because if you do, it's a foul. Wolf, you know what? I don't know if I agree with you on that, because I don't look. When you look at the fact that Chet Holmgren had 4 points tonight, if there's one person that you can pin this loss on, I'm sorry, it's going to be Chet Holmgren. And the reason for that, 4 points in 33 minutes. He did not have a good series at all. I would call this a disaster of a series for Chet Holmgren. He didn't match well defensively against Wembanyama. He did not play well against Wembanyama. Offensively, he didn't play well at all, whether it was Wemby guarding him, whether it was somebody smaller, whether it was somebody bigger. The fact that Chet Holmgren is 7'1" and struggled every single night in the rebounding department, that's a problem. That tells me that he's not physically strong enough to be down in the paint with those guys. And again, Holmgren tonight, turnover wise, I mean, he was a -3 while he was out there. He had 2 turnovers, nothing crazy. SGA had 3. Caruso had 3. I thought Alex Caruso had Oklahoma City pulled it out. I thought Caruso would have been named MVP, to be completely honest, because Caruso I thought had a big game, or had a big series. Excuse me. Tonight, not so much. Tonight he struggled. Caruso was 3 of 14 from the field, 1 of 6 from the 3-point line. He was 5 of 6 at the free throw line. 5 rebounds, 4 assists. He did have 3 turnovers. He was a -5. Jalen Williams was a +10 out there tonight. Jalen Williams had 11 points, 10 rebounds. He had a better game than Chet Holmgren. You could argue that he should have been out there starting versus Chet Holmgren. I really liked how Hartenstein played defensively. I thought Hartenstein played Wembanyama as physical as anybody did on the Thunder, other than Caruso, and I mean that's a mismatch. I mean it's a huge mismatch. I think that overall you just had such a horrible matchup situation here for Oklahoma City. Everybody thought OKC would win it. I thought OKC would win it in 7, just because of the home factor. But we said last night, and if you were with us last night, you know that we said if Wemby has a big night, Oklahoma City's in big trouble. And Wemby had that big night. Wemby played very, very well. He allowed the game to come to him. He didn't try to force things. When he did try to force things, the refs didn't call it, which was good. I liked that. I thought the refs had a very good game. I didn't think they took the game over. I liked the technical on Mark Daigneault. I like it because of the fact he was trying to get his team fired up. And it worked. I mean, they started playing better at that point. Wolf, yeah, I think the Spurs and the Knicks matchup is going to be really, really interesting. I think the center matchups between Karl Anthony Towns and Wembanyama is going to be incredibly interesting because of the fact that you've got Wembanyama, who he plays more like a stretch 4 right now. Okay? And that's not a knock on Wemby. That's just the cold hard facts. But I also think that you've got a Knicks squad that I think could guard him better than what Oklahoma City did. So I think it's going to be a real interesting matchup between those two. And again, I'm wondering if that's going to lead to a Knicks victory or not. I think the Knicks should feel better about where they are at in terms of defensively and realistically how they're playing offensively as well. I mean, offensively they're playing really, really well right now. Jalen Brunson is on a run. He's on a heater right now. So, but I will say this much: San Antonio is ahead of schedule. I don't think anybody thought that Wemby in his 3rd year would be in the NBA Finals. But the fact that he is in the NBA Finals, I think that overall, I think San Antonio wins the series. I don't think the Knicks win it. I think San Antonio's got too many weapons in their starting lineup and off the bench. Look, let's just call this what it is right here and now. Okay? When you look at their bench, okay, you've got Harrison Barnes, who's got experience, okay? Johnson and Bryant will give you decent numbers. Luke Cornett can come in and play. Dylan Harper, I think, is an X factor. I think Dylan Harper is a big-time X factor. And personally, this is just me, I almost think Dylan Harper could be starting. Not necessarily for Castle or Vassell, but I think you put him on any other NBA roster, he's probably starting. And I like him as the six-man option. Yeah, Yonik, I'm not disagreeing with you. I'm not disagreeing with you at all. Chet had a very bad series tonight, and overall series. He had a bad game tonight. Worst game he could have had at the worst possible time. That would have been much better if he'd have done that in game one. I think Harper is an X factor for San Antonio. And look, credit to Sean Sweeney, the new head coach of the Orlando Magic. He put on a masterclass of a defensive showcase tonight. Yeah, Champagnie was clutch. Absolutely, Monty. No doubt. He had a great game tonight. He was their unsung hero tonight. 20 points, 6 of 11 from the field, 6 of 10 from threes, 6 points, 1 assist, 5 defensive rebounds. He was a plus 16. I don't know if the Knicks get swept, Max. I think New York matches up really well with San Antonio. I think San Antonio wins it, but I think New York matches up really, really well. I think New York matches up better with San Antonio versus Oklahoma City. And the East is weak. I'm not going to deny that. I agree with you there. But the Knicks, look, if the Knicks play defense really, really well, and that seems to be their calling card right now, if they play really, really well, they could push it to 6. I'm not going to say that. I'm not going to say they're going to get swept, but I think if their defense plays well, I mean, this could get interesting. I will tell you this much, too. There was a point in close to the end of the first half where Wembanyama, and I'm recalling this from memory here, so bear with me. But there was a point where Wembanyama went down underneath the basket on Oklahoma City's end. And it looked like he grabbed at his knee. So I'm wondering if there's something there, but I'm speculating here. Yeah, Jack, you know what? My picks were wrong. So what? So what? No, I said I think the Spurs win it. I think the Spurs are a more talented team than the Knicks. But the Knicks, if they play good defense, could push it to probably 6. That's exactly what I just said. So again, I think San Antonio will test the depth of New York. Look, I'm not saying the Knicks are going to get swept or anything like that. I think the Knicks are going to be they match up better against the Spurs than they do the Thunder. There's no question about that. My question becomes, can Karl Anthony Towns and can Mitchell Robinson put enough body weight and tire out Wembanyama? If Wembanyama gets tired out, then you've got a different series. But if Wemby is allows the games to come to him, then Wemby is really, really dangerous. The Knicks are not beating the Spurs, so you can do your live video and get your roses whenever. Well, thank you, DJ Nitty. I will do my video, and I will get my roses whenever. Thank you very much. Appreciate that. I said they weren't beating the Spurs overall. If you would listen, you would hear that. Jose, I agree. SGA wasn't consistent, but he was the most consistent player I thought the Thunder had. This is where the Spurs are going to use Luke Cornett. Maybe. I think, though, I think the Spurs, their core with Castle and Vassell and Wemby and Dylan Harper, those four guys that's their core. And I like that core a lot. I like that core better than I like the Knicks core of Brunson and Anunoby and Karl Anthony Towns and Josh Hart. I just do. So I think that and Reagan, I agree with exactly what you're saying right there. When Caruso is the most consistent after SGA, it's a problem. You're 100% correct. You are absolutely right. 100%. Nuns in heaven, Spurs in 7. I like that, Vincent. That's nice. I have Spurs in 6. I think in 5 or 6. I'm debating right now, back and forth, if I'm being honest. I think that New York. Look, if New York plays defense the way that they did early against, not early. If the Knicks play the Thibodeau defense, then that's going to be interesting to see. But I also really like Sean Sweeney, and I expressed my disappointment last night about the Bulls not getting him as their head coach, because I feel like he is an up-and-coming defensive guru. Jalen Brunson has to play big. Karl Anthony Towns has to be Karl Anthony Towns. Karl Anthony Towns cannot disappear. Karl Anthony Towns cannot disappear. OG Anunoby has to be big. I think it's going to be a better series than what people think. I think a lot of people are saying, "Oh, Spurs in 4, Knicks in 4." What I think you're going to have a really good series. I'm just going to be honest with you. I truly, truly do. And subconsciously, I don't have a dog in the fight. Okay, I don't. There's a part of me that wants the Knicks to win, just because it's been so long. There's another part of me that says this is the start of the Spurs run. I think now this is going to be, it's going to put an end to any talk of a dynasty for Oklahoma City. I think you're going to see a lot of changes in Oklahoma City. I'm going to be honest with you, because it was exposed tonight that they need a second in command behind SGA. You've got to have somebody dominant that can handle a low post game. Somebody, anybody. You have to have a secondary scorer other than SGA. And when Alex Caruso is your second best player in the series, when you have a 7'1" stretch 4 that puts up 4 points and struggles getting rebounds because he can't handle pressure, that's a problem. And I just think that there's a lot of changes that have to happen with Oklahoma City if they want to compete next year. I think Hartenstein gives you a nice 5, but he's nothing to write home about. He would be a really good bench player coming off, I think. But you need him for what Chet Holmgren doesn't provide, which is defense. And Chet Holmgren, again, if you want to blame anybody tonight for the loss, it's Chet Holmgren. No, it's absolutely not a failure. They were the defending NBA champs. They made it to the conference finals. They got beat by a better team because they didn't have somebody that could help Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. And Chet is young. I agree with you, Anthony, but the problem with Chet is that he's way too thin and, for lack of a better term, weak to play down low. He just is. He's got to hit the weight. I mean, he's got to put on a ton of weight. He has to put on muscle. He has to put on weight. He's got to do something. Not all of them. Not all of them. Look at Nikola Jokic. He's not skinny. Look at Karl Anthony Towns. He's not skinny. Look at Nikola Vucevic. He's not skinny. Dirk Nowitzki wasn't skinny. LeBron James isn't skinny. Kobe Bryant wasn't skinny. Look at Shaq. Okay? I don't care if you're a stretch 4 or a post-up 5. It doesn't matter. You got to have a little bit of bulk to you. That's one of, honestly, the reasons why I want somebody like a Tom Thibodeau back in Chicago, because you could get some muscle mass onto Modest Buzelis, and then you've got like a Dirk Nowitzki type. And I said like. I didn't say he was going to be Dirk. I said like Dirk Nowitzki. Yeah, Wemby's skinny, but he's 7'5". Yeah, so if he's 7'5", there's no reason. I mean, what's his playing weight? I mean, let's talk about that for a minute. What's Wembanyama's playing weight? 235 pounds. You give him another 10 to 15 pounds of muscle, guess what? He's Akeem Olajuwon. He gets some post moves and adds 10 pounds of muscle, he's Akeem Olajuwon. Yeah, I mean, look, Chet has not changed. Wemby has added muscle. You can see it. It's defined. Chet hasn't. So, and look, it's not a bad season for Oklahoma City. Hear me when I say that. Yeah, he's having success this season. Absolutely. I'm not saying that, Jack. I'm not saying he's doing anything wrong. What I am saying is that if he were to bulk up a little bit more and he develops a post game, then you're talking about a guy that could be compared to Akeem Olajuwon. He'd have phenomenal post moves, great defender, guy that can play a stretch five, hit the 3, run the court, and be dominant. Oh my God. Well, he hasn't won an NBA title yet, so let's see what he is. Let's see what he said. Let's see what happens. Okay? Let's see what happens. All right. We're going to take a quick timeout. We're going to hear from our friends over at I Know a Guy Remodeling, and then we'll come back to get more reaction on the Game 7 victory between the San Antonio Spurs, who advanced to the NBA Finals. First time since 2014. We'll be right back here on the Last Row Podcast. All right, let me ask you something. When your favorite team is struggling, what's the first thing fans say? Something's got to change. Well, if you've been walking through your home thinking the same thing every time you see that old bathroom, that outdated kitchen, or that unfinished basement, or the old landscaping, maybe this is your sign. Our friends at I Know a Guy Remodeling can help turn your home from rebuild into contender status. From kitchens and bathrooms to flooring and drywall. Renovation projects, big or small, they do quality work and actually care about making sure it's done right. As someone who values people you can trust, that matters. So if you're ready to stop talking about it and finally make the move, make sure you check out our website, www.lastrowpodcast.com. That is where you can find a link to their Facebook page for I Know a Guy Remodeling. Because championship teams and championship homes are built the right way. And everybody deserves to know a guy. And now you do. I know a guy remodeling. All right, welcome back to the Last Row Podcast, a fan's perspective on sports. Lane, welcome in. Who do I have? Knicks or Spurs? I've got Spurs in 7. I've got the Spurs in 6 right now. That may change. I may go Spurs in 5, but right now I've got Spurs in 6. I think it's going to go 6. No, you're good, Jack. Look, I'm just talking as a fan too, dude. I'm just talking as a fan too. And trust me, I understand exactly what you're saying by having a bad day. Trust me. If there's anybody in here that knows what you're talking about, it's me. Promise you that. NHL wise, give me Vegas in 6. I say man. I'm gonna say ooh, Mark, that's a hell of a prediction. I think it's gonna go 7, to be honest with you. I really like Carolina. Carolina has done a phenomenal job, I think. But I do also like Vegas, and I like Tortorella. I'm going to say Vegas in 7. I think Vegas goes in 7. I think. I'm a little surprised that ESPN has not kicked in with their coverage. They have ESPN doesn't have any coverage of it right now, and I'm a little bit surprised by that. That actually really kind of upsets me. They've got the Holly Holm Stephanie Hand fight for the WBA light heavyweight title in boxing going on. Thank you, Video Enjoy. Appreciate you. So look, I mean, tonight was about the Spurs, right? And so now the question becomes, well, what does Oklahoma City do? Well, I mean, you've got the draft coming up, which we know about. They're going to get better there, but I think if I'm Oklahoma City, one of my requirements for Chet Holmgren is he gets on some kind of a weight training program that he can go and get bigger. Because it was evident tonight and the whole series that he was just out. I mean, he was completely. I mean, he didn't do anything. He's 7'1", 208 pounds. Jesus, I weigh more than he does. And I'm nowhere near 7'1". He's gotta put some weight on. He's got to get at least. I mean, he's 7'1", at least get to 215, 220. And yeah, I agree, Jack. I think Hartenstein. Look, I said earlier in the season series, I thought Hartenstein played really, really well against Wemby. I thought Wemby didn't care for his physicality. And I think they got away from that a little bit tonight. But again, Wemby had a good night. I mean, Wemby the last few nights has had really good nights. And it certainly goes to show that, tonight with the Spurs winning, I mean, look, again, we can talk to we're blue in the face here, but you look at the Spurs, they were very, very balanced. Every single starter was in double figures tonight. Yeah, Chet's 7'1". Yeah, he's 7'1". And he's 7'1", and he had 4 rebounds. That's unacceptable. You should have at least 8 to 9 rebounds if you're 7'1". I'm sorry. I don't care if you're a stretch 4 or not. You need to be able to go rebound the basketball. You also need to be a better defender. And he's not a good defender. He's okay at the rim, but outside of the rim, he's a beanpole. I mean, I could dominate him down in the low post. And it's because I weigh more than he does. So, you get somebody that's got a little meat onto him, he's going to get exhausted, and that's going to make his three-point shooting, lack because he's tired. Thus, he's not going to get the bend in his knees like he needs. So it's a domino effect at that point. And again, I think that overall, you've got to have a really good you have to have a really good team to be able to match up with San Antonio. Because, I mean, you look at it, okay? I mean, let's just look here real quick. Humor me here. Castle 6'6". Vassal 6'5". De'Aaron Fox is 6'3". Champagne's 6'7", and Wemby's 7'5". I mean, that's a big discrepancy. But they're athletic and they play bigger than what they are. And when you have guys that are 6'5", 6'6", battling in the paint for rebounds and out-rebounding a guy that's 7'1", that tells you about the effort. That tells you about the determination that they have. And that's, I think, where a lot of it comes from tonight. And I think that's where a lot of it was I think that's where a lot of it was brought in tonight was, again, you've got to be willing to make a commitment to going down there and battling for rebounds. Ray says, my son is 6'9", played college ball at 220, and was a beanpole compared to other 4s and 5s. 7'1" bone. Yeah, I mean, Ray, you're spot on. You've got to be. I think I look at guys like. I mean, let me just look here. Hang on 1 second. I want to see something here. All right. Dirk Nowitzki was 7 foot. And I just want to see here, and this is from basketballreference.com. Okay? He's 7 foot 245. 7 foot 245. And he could run, he could pass, he could shoot, he could defend. And I think that overall, that's what you want Chet Holmgren to be. Is like a Dirk, right? And I think if you do that, if you get him, but that's asking him to put on 30 plus pounds of weight and muscle. It's not going to happen. It's not going to happen overnight. It's not going to happen realistically probably at all. And Spears says Chet and Dort getting traded for Giannis. You know what? No way. I wouldn't want Giannis. Giannis is older and he's injury prone now. No way. But you have to be honest, when Shea goes to the basket, he falls every time looking for a foul. So does James Harden. James Harden travels every time. Yeah, I mean, look, he flops. I get it. I'm not denying it. So does James Harden. So does LeBron. So does, half the NBA anymore. Because it's become a flopping league. It's become a flopping league. Let's call it what it is. So, again, and Tim, yeah, that's why I've called this series this was the NBA Finals right here, because I don't think the Knicks. I think the Knicks lose in 6. I think San Antonio. Cody, thank you so much, brother. Appreciate you. And I did not get a message from you, by the way. I was keeping an eye out for it. I've got Spurs in 6, but I think it could be 5 at this point. But we'll see. I mean, look, we talked about it at the beginning of the series. You're good. No worries. We talked about it at the beginning of the series. When Wembanyama gets the basketball up here, right, and he's flailing his elbows like this, right? I'd take one right to the chin. I'd get early fouls on him. You want to take San Antonio out of their game, that's how you do it. That's exactly how you do it. And I think that overall, you've got to have Karl-Anthony Towns has to play big. And I think, look, if it's me, every damn time down the court, if I'm Karl-Anthony Towns, I'm backing him down every time. Because you know what? He might be 7'5", but he's 200 plus pounds of skin and bones. All right, bear with me, guys, real quick. I will be right back here on the stream. Bear with me 1 second. Sorry, guys. Okay. Had to go get this. My inhaler, for those that aren't watching. Anyway, I mean, Karl-Anthony Towns, I think, is going to pose a big problem for Wembanyama. And they need Karl-Anthony Towns to play like the Karl-Anthony Towns from back when he was in Minnesota. And I know that's not going to be popular, but you've got to have the cat play like a mean cat, not a pussy cat, okay? He's got to play big. I also think that Brunson's got to be good, which we know he will be. I think Anunoby has to play well for the Knicks to have a shot. And, I mean, Mitchell Robinson can lean on him too. But you've got to tire out Wembanyama. You have to tire him out. And I just don't know if you're going to be able to. But again, per what we saw here today, I mean, Wemby was dominant. Wemby was absolutely dominant. Inconsistencies, Jose. I don't like them. I don't like how they revert away from their defense. If their defense isn't consistent, I mean, the last month and a half of the regular season and into the playoffs, they started implementing the Tom Thibodeau defense and offensive sets, and that's where they started having a lot of success. And them having success in that way has helped fuel them. I think they need to continue that. I absolutely think they need to continue that. And if they get away from that, you saw it in Game 1 against Cleveland where they were down by 22. And being down by 22 midway through the third, at the 6-minute mark of the third, they started re-implementing those principles of the Thibodeau defense. And that's when they turned that around. The offense has got to run through Brunson. And I think if it runs through Brunson and they allow their defense to set the offense, that's where they're their best. That's where they're at their best. So we'll see. Let's see here. I'm keeping tabs very quickly. If you guys don't mind, bear with me here 1 second here. I'm keeping tabs on a really big story here in the state of Illinois, and that is the Chicago Bears Stadium project. Right now, the Illinois legislature will adjourn at midnight Central Time, and they will be off for the majority of June. And Tammy, thank you for the hearts. Appreciate you. And they are currently working through the bill in the Senate to get the Bears their stadium funding. It's a huge story here in Illinois because if they don't get through this, they have to wait until mid to late June. And that is a big issue for the NFL. Huge issue in the NFL. And Senator Bill Cunningham, the lead Senate negotiator, said, "We also have members of the Chicago caucus who would like to find some sort of path where the city of Chicago would have the ability to compete for a stadium." The problem is that the city of Chicago doesn't have any space for the Bears and has said that, and the Bears have said that. So I will just say this much right here, right now. We're gonna be keeping our eyes on this here, and I know that they are back tomorrow morning. So we'll see. We will see what happens. But again, I just wonder where they're going to end up. I just wonder that. Here's a little nugget for you. The last time the Knicks were in the finals, they played a 22-year-old Tim Duncan. Now that they're back in the finals, they're playing a 22-year-old Victor Wembanyama. Just saying. Brendan Moore, one of the reporters, says, Senator Cunningham tells us the proposal that the Bears have put out there does not have the support to pass, referring to the pilot tool, and that they're trying to figure out if there's another way to make sure the Bears build a stadium in Illinois without using that. Well, yeah, there is. It's called figuring this out before you adjourn for, June. And if you don't, there's a chance the Bears will leave Illinois to go to Indiana. And that will then fall on J.B. Pritzker, and that will ruin his attempt to get to the White House. So, just keeping an eye on that. All right. So let's see here. Apparently, there's a fire in Paris, France, right now. Anyway. And the Eiffel Tower's on fire, I'm reading here on X, but I don't know if it's true or not. Okay, anyway. The reason why they have been good on offense is because they've been great on defense. Yeah, exactly right. Their defense leads to their offense, Jose. That's exactly right. Jack says, I just saw a Packers fan bring up the 45-15 overall record again. Oh, my God. Yeah, Packers fans are the worst. I'm sorry. They're horrible. I'm ready for this to be over. Anthony, I'm with you. Just get the damn bill done and get the stadium built in Arlington Heights. And you know what? This could be the downfall as well of Kevin Warren with the Bears. There's been rumblings of that too, that George and the McCaskey family are very angry with Kevin Warren. That while he's done a phenomenal job on the football side, on the business side, he's not Ted Phillips. And his reputation may have preceded him. Oh, I agree, Anthony. Yeah, I agree. Yeah, NFL's going to have to do a lot here to get this. It's not a good look for the charter franchise of the NFL. You're exactly right, and it's gone on way too long. Way too long. I mean, I'm telling you right here now, this series is going to be. This series between the Knicks and Spurs is going to be incredible, and the reason why I'm saying this is because you've got the number one media market in the world in New York, okay? You've got veterans on the Knicks versus the young, up-and-coming Spurs. You've got a veteran head coach in Mike Brown, and you've got a young Mitch Johnson as the head coach of the Spurs. You've got Greg Popovich lingering in San Antonio still as the GM. Or president, whatever you want to call him. But he's still around. And he's still making decisions, and he's still formulating teams in his to be what he wants. And it's working still because obviously they're in the finals. And I think overall, I like San Antonio's game. I really like their game. And I think that overall San Antonio they've got a lot of younger players that are going to they're going to be the difference maker. Look, I really think Dylan Harper is a difference maker. I really truly do. Cat's got to step up. We've talked about that. I think Josh Hart's got to play big. I think Anunoby's got to play big. Brunson, we know, is going to be there. But I truly feel that Dylan Harper for the Spurs, he's going to be an X factor. Zachartey, I've got Spurs in 6. Spurs in 6 as of right now. And that's part of it. That's why I think that I like San Antonio's. Don't get me wrong. I like the Knicks' depth, but I like San Antonio's depth a little bit more. Mitchell's got to be ready despite the broken pinky finger. Now, he's not going to be an offensive threat. He's got to be defense. Look, we know Brunson's going to be big. We know that. That's a given. Jalen Brunson's always going to have a good night. But defensively, you've got to be ready if you're Karl Anthony Towns and maybe OG Anunoby and or Josh Hart. I mean, you look at those three. And those three guys specifically, and I want to just look here. Bear with me. I want to see something here. Oh, good grief. All right, OG Anunoby is 6'7". He's a bigger 6'7", though. 6'7", 240. Okay? So you got that. You've got Josh Hart, who's 6'5", 215. No, look, Karl Anthony Towns, I think Karl Anthony Towns is going to be a big problem for Wembanyama. But the fact is, Karl Anthony Towns has to play like the Karl Anthony Towns from Minnesota. And if he can do so, then I think that overall you're going to have Karl Anthony Towns versus Wemby. Karl Anthony Towns can dominate him down in the post. But Karl Anthony Towns has to be willing to go down in the post and to do that. And if he's not, then I think Wemby's going to have. It's not going to be a rough series for Wemby. Look, they've got to beat up Wemby a little bit. I mean, let's call it what it is here. They've got to beat him up down low. I mean, they've got to make him work. And if the Knicks don't do that, it's going to be a really quick series against the Knicks. The Knicks have to be willing to beat him up a little bit and be physical and not be afraid. And I think that was Chet Holmgren's biggest downfall in this series. He was so up here in his own mind. He didn't know what the hell he was doing. And I think that's the problem with him. Is I don't believe that Chet Holmgren mentally thought he could take care of Wembanyama. And he was scared of him. And that was a big problem. I think that Karl Anthony Towns mentally can do it. But Cat's got to be big. Cat has to play big. And if he doesn't, then the series is going to be over. But the Spurs and the Thunder, I thought, was the NBA Finals. They were the two best teams in the league, I thought. And you can't fault SGA. SGA played very, very well in the series. But you can also say that Chet Holmgren had the worst series of his career. And let's not forget this too. And this was a stat we talked about before the series started. The Spurs were 4-1 against the Thunder in the regular season. Let's not forget that. The Spurs beat them. And the Spurs were really the only ones that did a number of jobs. I mean, the Spurs were the ones that were the only ones that could do the job against SGA and against Chet Holmgren and those guys. But I'm telling you this, Karl Anthony Towns has to be good. And yes, he is better than Chet Holmgren. But he's got to be willing to beat up Wembanyama down in the post. If he doesn't, it's not going to work. It's not going to work. Cat's got to play like an old school traditional five here. And nobody's talking about this yet either, but I think this is going to be a fascinating matchup between Mike Brown and Mitch Johnson between the coaches. I think Mike Brown, with time and with age, has gotten better as a head coach. And I think that overall, Mike Brown is going to rely on that veteran mind of his to come up with a plan to try to stop Wembanyama. This is where having somebody like a Tom Thibodeau would be really beneficial, because Thibodeau would know how to shut him down, or have a plan at least. I think that when Wemby gets the ball, if he starts to drive with said ball, he's not good on his feet. Meaning he tends to stumble a little bit. He's not very graceful yet on his feet. Therefore, you could take advantage of that and force some turnovers. You could also bang on him down in the paint. And if you do that, he's going to get tired out. I mean, he's going to get tired out. Love says, go Spurs, go. Yeah, I mean, look, this series between the Thunder and the Spurs was the NBA Finals. We've talked about it before. We've mentioned it almost every night here on the show. And I think that this was the best series that we could have had. And I'm looking forward to seeing how the Spurs and Knicks match up. And that started, I believe it starts Wednesday night, if memory serves me correct. That the series starts on Wednesday. So we'll see. We'll see what happens. I'm looking forward to it. Put your thoughts in the chat. Who wins and in how many games? Curious to see what everybody says. And if you're new here, good evening. Thank you so much for joining us here on the Last Row Podcast. We are a fan's perspective on sports. We're all fans here. Brian with a Y, good evening. Welcome in. Patrick, Israel, Gil, Spurs in 6 to make it interesting. Wemby wants this bad. Okay. Thank you for that. That's my prediction as well, Spurs in 6, because I think there's going to be a few games where the Knicks defensively shut them down, just like Oklahoma City did. The one thing I will say, too, about OKC versus the Knicks is that Alex Caruso is a damn good defender still. And I don't know if the Knicks have a guy that's as good as Caruso is. But collectively, they're very good. Who wins and in how many games? So far, Spurs in 6. is what's been said. Joey, Cedric, Simba, Yeti, good evening. Welcome in. I say Spurs in 6. And if game 1 is any indication, thank you, Reagan. If game 1, if Wemby dominates early in game 1, it's over. Because then at that point in time, on the biggest stage in the biggest arena, right? Meaning the NBA Finals. If Wemby is locked in, forget it. And then if he goes to MSG, or when he goes to MSG, I think that he is going to, if he shows up and shows out, forget it. It's gonna be over, I think. The Knicks face good opponents, but their good is like the Timberwolves, honestly. Yeah, I mean, they've had a pretty easy route to the finals. There's no question. There's no question about that. Jonathan, thank you for the follow. Appreciate you. Yeah, I mean, he played really, really well. And I thought tonight he allowed the game to come to him. And I thought that Jonathan says Spurs in 5. I don't mind that pick. Yeah, I mean, Clay, look, I don't know necessarily if the injuries really made any difference. And the reason why I say that is Chet Holmgren didn't play well. If Chet Holmgren averages his 17 points, a game, it might be a different series. But Chet Holmgren got dominated in this series. This was a disaster of a series for Chet Holmgren. Nixon 4, Anthony says. I love it. I think we're starting. This is going to be the NBA's version of Manning versus Brady, I think. Wembanyama versus SGA. I think we're just seeing the start of it. And I'm not comparing these two to the other two, but Bird and Magic, Wemby and SGA. I'm not saying it's going to be, I'm not comparing those players and those careers, but that type of rivalry, I think that type of rivalry is going to be very, very interesting to me. Trey, they don't win with J-Dub and Mitchell. Yeah, Shea had 35 points. Shea was locked in. I mean, we didn't even go through the box score. Thank you for that. We didn't even go through the box score for them. Hartenstein had 7. Holmgren with 4. He was 1 of 2 from the field. Shea was brilliant. 35 points, 12 of 21 from the field, 9 of 11 from the free throw line. Dort only had 3. Wallace had 17. Williams with 11. Caruso with 12. McCain with 12. Chet was awful tonight. Chet was absolutely horrible. I mean, I think that's the biggest reason why they lost tonight. Truthfully, Chet Holmgren had 4 points. He couldn't defend anybody. He wasn't able to rebound, and I feel that ultimately was the end game tonight was Chet Holmgren. Holmgren had to be the number 2, and he wasn't for Oklahoma City. And when you've got Wallace being your number 2, who normally comes off the bench, who got the start tonight, that it doesn't work. You needed Alex Caruso to play big. Caruso had 12 points, okay. But if you're banking on an Alex Caruso 20 burger, guess what? You're not going to win the game. And that's what Oklahoma City needed tonight. And we talked about this. We talked about it. We talked about how you had to have players from OKC step up. And they didn't tonight. They absolutely did not. SGA showed why he's the MVP. They showed why he was the MVP. He showed up. He played really, really well. Jack, have a good night. I think that overall, you can blame this loss. Look, I agree, Anthony. Caruso should not be the second best player on the team. But in multiple games, he was. In multiple games, he was. And in this instance here, when that happens, that's a big, big problem. That's a very big problem. So, again, with the Spurs winning tonight, JB and Cat versus Wemby and D Fox. I mean, right now, until somebody stops him, I'm going to say Wemby. I mean, right now, Wemby to me is just is too dynamic of a player. I mean, look, he's a guy that can shoot from the three. He can drive, he can rebound, he can block at the rim. So I think that overall you've got a better matchup there in terms of, I mean, that's a mismatch every time. I mean, I think if Wembanyama puts on 10 pounds of muscle and gets some post moves, again, I'm telling you, I think you're looking at a younger version of Akeem Olajuwon. I really, really do. I mean, if he could get his feet moving right in the post, he would be a deadly player. I mean, just incredible. I mean, Trey, I'll be honest with you. I don't either. I don't see De'Aaron Fox as being that big of a difference maker, but I'll tell you what. He's like the Spurs version of Alex Caruso in the sense he's getting everybody out there. He's getting everybody, settled down, lined up defensively. I mean, he's kind of an extension of Mitch Johnson and Greg Popovich on the floor. And he's a nice veteran experienced player that's going to help get the Spurs where they want to go. Yeah, statistically he had a bad night. No question. No question. But he's a good veteran to have on us. I mean, he's like a DeMar DeRozan. He's a good teammate. He's going to do everything he can to help the team, and they're going to utilize him as that veteran presence out there. The stabilizer. Exactly right, Reagan. Exactly right. And I think that's why Popovich loves guys like Fox and like DeMar DeRozan, because they're steady Eddie. They don't waver. They're not like this. They're just steady, man. And that's what Popovich wants. I mean, you look back at his teams that Popovich coached and built. Manu Ginobili, Tim Duncan, Tony Parker. They were all like this. No, he's not part owner, but he's still I think he's team president and or he's still involved with the Spurs. Even though he's not coaching, I want to say he's team president, I believe. Let me see here. Yeah, he's the president. He's the president. He's the president of the Spurs. That's what I thought. New York Sports Edit. Good evening. And look, Pop is the guy that has. I mean, he's been the driving force behind this team. I mean, so I don't know about that, Anthony. I don't think that's accurate. I don't think that's accurate at all. If the Knicks lose, then Jalen's gone. I don't buy that. If the Knicks lose, I do think you're going to see some changes. Like, I don't know if Mike Brown will be back. I don't know if Karl Anthony Towns will be back. But we'll see. We'll see. Oh, I absolutely think there would be changes. Absolutely. And I'll be honest with you, I'm shocked that Cleveland is running everything back. I'm completely shocked by that. I mean, they're even talked about re-signing James Harden. And that to me that's a disaster. If James Harden James Harden might get you to the playoffs, but he's not going to get you a ring. Wow, Holly Holmes got screwed. Holly Holmes, wow, that's horrible. That's awful. Holly Holm got screwed out of that title match. Holly Holm landed more punches. She cut her opponent. The champ Stephanie Hahn was defensive all night. That's horrible. Sorry. That's awful. Anyway, yeah, Harden. I mean, Harden is just he's going through the motions. He's after a check, I think, and quite honestly, he just doesn't do anything for me. And he absolutely I mean, he's an offensive killer. He's an offensive killer to me. And I think that overall he just absolutely takes I mean, he slows down any bit of offense that you have. And when he does that, it just kills any momentum that you have. On top of that, he's a horrible defender. He's going to jack up threes as much as he wants, and it's just not going to end well. It never ends well with James Harden. So, but look, we'll see. We'll see what happens. All right, that's going to put a bow on this edition of the Last Row podcast. I want to thank you so much for joining us and for being with us here. If you were with us on TikTok Live, stick around. We've got the overtime coming up. Make sure you subscribe on Apple Podcasts and or Spotify. Make sure you follow the show here on TikTok and on X. And check out the website, www.lastrowpodcast.com. And until tomorrow night, when breaking news changes everything, I'll see you in the last row.